All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 10th Symposium of the Center for Food Animal Wellbeing. I'm Dave Caldwell. I serve as head of the Department of Poultry Science here at the University of Arkansas and director of the Center of Excellence for Poultry Science in the UA Division of Agriculture. A little more than 2.5 years ago now, we were very fortunate to hire Dr. Shawna Weimer to join us on faculty here and also serve as the director of the Center of Food Animal Wellbeing. In a very short period of time, Shawna has restored this center to full activity in its mission to meet the needs of the commercial and allied industry stakeholders in this state and beyond. So very fortunate to have Shawna on board. She's doing a great job. Really appreciate you traveling here to join us for this meeting, and all of those of you online as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Weimer.
Thank you, Dr. Caldwell. And thank you everyone for being here today, both in person and virtually. I'm really looking forward to this program. So welcome to the 10th Annual Center for Food Animal Wellbeing Symposium, named Dynamic Insights into Decoding the Bird Brain. I'm very excited about this year's symposium because we're going to explore the connections between the avian brain, visual system, and behavior. Understanding how birds process visual information and how their neurobiology influences their behavior offers dynamic insights into their mental state, welfare, and adaptation to different environments. The brain's complex interactions with sensory input, particularly vision in poultry, are pivotal in shaping responses to environmental stimuli, stress, and social interactions. I'm eager to dive into the discussions on how these neural mechanisms translate into measurable physiological and behavioral indicators that are key to advancing our knowledge of animal welfare and performance. So welcome to the symposium. Who has attended past symposia for the center? All right, thank you to those who returned, very much appreciate it. Thank you very much to the Professional Animal Auditor Certification Organization for offering 5 continuing education credits for attending this symposium. And moving into the center, the vision of the Center for Food Animal Wellbeing is to advance animal welfare now and for future generations through research, education, and outreach. With the mission to disseminate science-based information and drive innovation towards practices and technologies that cultivate animal welfare for ethical and sustainable food systems. So a little bit about the center. Dr. Caldwell, thank you. I'm glad I'm doing a good job, boss, on the center. But we sponsor and host events as well as research projects. And really the root of it all is to provide science-based information for animal welfare, for certification programs, and for industry use and manuals. This involves a lot of stakeholder relations for applied research projects on commercial farms that can help progress the guidelines and audit standards in the United States. We also host in just a couple of weeks a PACO Broiler Welfare Auditor Certification Training. And I'm also a member of the Poultry Extension Collaborative, where we host online symposia as well as publish monthly newsletters on poultry welfare topics. And this picture of my lab was taken just a couple weeks ago. We're growing, and I'm very excited about that, and very thankful for all of their hard work. So moving as a very brief drive-by of some of the things and research projects we do in our lab is really looking at how genetics and environment can impact animal welfare. So our first project here is looking at hatching humidity, so looking at different humidity levels during the hatching phase of broilers, because there's a little bit of evidence to suggest that if humidity is too high during hatching, chicks have to use their legs to hatch. And so we assessed leg health, and as well as looking at the fear behavior, or actually it turned into the escape behavior of birds during an isolation test. You can see here on this bucket. Another project by my master's student, Victor Oyenaran, is looking at the cognitive judgment bias of both Athens Canadian Random Bred, which is the 1950s broiler, and the red jungle fowl, which is the common ancestor to all poultry, in collaboration with our in-house geneticist, Sarah Olowski. Thank you, Sarah. Very interesting research project. So we were looking into the cognitive bias of these two breeds in a test that trains them to respond or approach an award, a reward, or a neutral stimuli where there's no reward. And we found some very interesting differences into the translation for this data is to interpret how the birds are either pessimistic or optimistic in the cognitive bias test. We also looked at the effect of repeated handling. There's a lot of training that goes on for this test, and assessed stress with infrared thermography and fear with the tonic immobility test. My master's student, Jalen Cherry, in collaboration with the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, just collected his data for a project looking at pasture broilers. I forgot to play the video. Looking at pasture broilers in response to heat stress and if dietary tryptophan could ameliorate that heat stress. And he's currently watching many hours of video. PhD student Angela Peretti is looking at the effects of different light wavelengths, both during incubation and during grow out. We didn't have a control for the dark incubator because we don't want to raise birds in the dark, but looking at white, green, and blue lighting. And have collected all sorts of data. We just finished one of the projects last week, looking at how the incubation and grow out lighting affected fearfulness. This is looking at how we just published a paper recently on different methods to hold the birds during the inversion test. And also below, you can see this table here is a visual cliff test to look at the bird's depth perception or visual acuity. And I think we are finding some very interesting results with that blue light particularly, as well as eye morphology and bone morphology and how the lights affected that. So like I said, that was a drive-by. Moving into the program, I'm very excited for our speakers. Our first talk will be on the importance of the septal brain region of birds for optimal neuroendocrine regulation of reproduction and stress by Dr. Wayne Kunzel, who is a professor here at the university. And Wayne's research has investigated regulating the reproductive function and how stress is regulated in birds. He is working on a second edition of a book first published in 1988, focusing on the locations and names of all known neural structures in the chicken brain that he hopes to complete by the end of the year or early next year. Our next talk will be on the neuroendocrine relationships with affective states in birds from Dr. Greg Fraley from Purdue University. And Greg began his research interests in avian neuroanatomy and physiology when he took a class taught by Wayne Kunzel at the University of Maryland. Dr. Fraley remained in Wayne's research lab and pursued his master's with him and studied the neuroendocrine mechanisms that underlie puberty onset in broilers. Greg is the Terry and Sandra Tucker Endowed Chair of Poultry Science and maintains a close working relationship with the Tucker family and Maple Leaf Farms. His research expertise is in the neurobiology of light sensors that regulate reproduction in the brain. Our next talk, short but sweet title, Visioning with Birds by Dr. Darren Karcher from Purdue University. And Darren is directly engaged with stakeholders across the poultry economies and uses his applied research program as a platform to deliver research-based, research-based extension programs that he focuses on poultry well-being and food safety and quality as impacted by management practices, physiology, and nutrition. Our next talk is Broiler and Blue Lights, Should All Growers Switch to Those by Dr. Karen Schween-Lardner from the University of Saskatchewan. And Karen is an international research leader on the impact of lighting programs on broiler welfare and production. Her PhD work with Aviagen broilers is the foundation of their welfare lighting program recommendations internationally. Karen is a well-sought-out industry and scientific speaker and serves on many welfare advisory committees for turkey and broiler groups. Our last talk is Brain Food, Feeding Omega-3 Fatty Acids to Chickens by Dr. Rosemary Whittle, who's from the University of Arkansas as my postdoc. And Rosie has extensive experience in poultry behavior and welfare. Her master's research focused on commercial hatchery stress, and her PhD research focused on the effects of maternal feeding of omega-3s on chicken behavior. Currently, Rosie's a postdoc in my lab. And last but not least, I'd like to thank everyone in my lab for the great research projects that we work on, as well as the university for all of the support. I did my PhD here and I came back because it's a lovely place, but also this university really is supportive of their people, and I very much appreciate that. So I'd also like to call out Chantel Panicott for really getting this together today. She's the reason we're here today. And as well as Dr. Caldwell, Jessica Wesson for helping with media, and Ozark Catering, and Allie Speed. She's the keeper of this facility. I really appreciate it. And last but not least, I would love to thank our sponsors for sponsoring this program. And with that, we'll go on to our first talk. And we're going to have Dr. Greg Fraley give an introduction on Wayne Kunzel.